Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Powerful Stuff. So, guys, we have done so much the last few weeks. Proud of us for doing the work on, cultivating inner belonging, clearing those energetic cords that need to be cleared out. And I thought to myself, you know what I've been doing recently? I have been leading a ton of experiences for Powerful Stuff out in the wild, IRL. I've been doing, our Best Morning Ever series every Monday, which is yoga, meditation, connection, breathwork, journaling, plant-based lattes, all of the things that we love and need in Venice to feel ready for a powerful start to the day. And this last Monday, I led this experience with my friend Aliki, who's also been on Powerful Stuff, who's also, in the wellness world as a yoga instructor. And we led an experience called Doing the Work. And it was literally a full moon ceremony where we did some of the things that you usually do in these in these parts, in these parts of the world, like eye gazing, breath work, sitting with our shadow, but we just kind of had fun with it. So it's like, why does self-development have to be so serious? And we gave people tiny crystals when they walked in, and they had to find the people with the matching crystal. Then they had to write a poem. They had 5 minutes with the people with the same matching crystal as them to write a poem about what they were releasing for the full moon. And then the winners got a prize. Then we kind of danced with our shadow side. Aliki said her shadow side was a sloth. When she's like scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, we've all been there. And I just so happened to have a sloth onesie. So when everyone was meditating about their shadow side, they opened their eyes up and there Aliki was in a sloth onesie. It was pretty hilarious. All of that is to say, I've been leading a lot of experiences lately, and I'm going to San Francisco this weekend for a friend's bachelorette baby shower. And I decided, I want to let the Powerful Stuff community in on the art of hosting experiences, whether it's an official experience. Like when I'm in SF, I decided while I'm there, I'm going to host a workshop called Be the Catalyst, Become What You're Ready to Attract, which is a type of workshop I do here in Los Angeles as well. And I'm going to let you guys into like how I usually lead experiences in the professional world, and then a few kind of personal world takeaways from my dinner parties, my, wedding. I was like, what is that word we call it? It's a wedding, guys. And, so you can do it too. So you can be the catalyst for the type of community that you're ready to attract, for the type of experiences that you are ready to attract. And the really cool thing about the art of hosting experiences is you really get to do it your way, and you get to give yourself and others the permission slip that we sometimes wish we had at other events we go to, where we're like, why is no one talking to each other? Or there's this really incredible event, like a live music event or something, and everyone's just sitting with the people that they already know. And it's like, how do we get those permission slips where we can actually use this openness of a cool shared experience together to go a little bit deeper? So I'm going to kind of present to you guys a buffet of options. We're going to chat through it together. We're going to go through our step process so you can leave this podcast episode knowing exactly what event you want to host next, how you want people to feel, and those little touches that are going to make it so you and make everyone feel so relaxed and comfortable, like the whole experience is just a deep exhale into connection and bonding in a really authentic way. Sound good? Okay, great. It does to me too. So you guys, I want to wind it back, and I talked a little bit about this in the belonging episode, but I'm like, those who can't do, teach, but not quite. Sometimes we find our superpower is actually the thing that we were most ashamed of or insecure about growing up. And it's kind of in healing that and in owning that we really step into it. And believe it or not, guys, when I was in elementary school and middle school, I was kind of an awkward teacher's pet. And I didn't really host things of my own. I always wished to be invited to things. When I transferred from a private school when I was in elementary school to a huge middle school, I was not in the popular crew, and I mentioned this in the belonging episode, but I would stand by the phone and like wait for people to call me, hoping that it would be like, the cool girls like inviting me to the mall that night to hang out. And it wasn't until high school, actually, when I left the cheer team. I worked really hard. This is a little bit of a tangent, guys. We're giving you a little bit of the Meredith Baker backstory, but then we're going to get into the juice of it. But it wasn't until I went to high school where, I worked really hard to be a cheerleader because I didn't fit in middle school. And I'm like, cheerleading will solve my popularity stuff. And lo and behold, it did teach me a lot about like group dynamics and girls, like navigating emotions in large groups and working with everyone for a collective, experience, but still putting in your individual work. But there was also, it didn't just solve all of my desires for community and belonging. And I realized I had to be the catalyst in my own life by doing what I actually loved. So when I quit the cheer team, I was like, what actually makes me happy? And I started running marathons. And then I started running marathons for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and started raising money for those marathons for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And what was really cool about the team in training, which is what it was called, is that you would have local chapters, and each chapter would meet every Saturday. We would do a long run together. I was the youngest person there. I was like 16, and I'd be with all these 20, 30, 40 somethings, and people would contribute, electrolytes or oranges or bananas, like things for the collective group. And then we would all chat or get breakfast after. And then we had a mentor who helped us, reach our fundraising goal. We had a sponsored patient that we were running in honor of, who would sometimes come out and cheer us on. And then we all did the marathon experience together. And it was like so bonding having this shared experience together. And working towards something together and going on runs together where you end up sharing everything under the sun. I like got so close to people like twice my age just because we'd go on runs together, and then so much would come out, talking, asking questions, reflecting. And it's really where I became, not just a good listener, but also like a true believer of like, building community and bonds through deep shared experiences and goals that we're working toward. And so it was through seeing that experience that I decided to be the catalyst for my friends in high school, and ended up recruiting over the years 20 friends to do marathons with me. And in high school, a group of us actually flew to Alaska and did the Alaska Marathon together and collectively raised like $50,000. And so that's just a little backstory into like how I got into creating shared experiences, because before that I would be so nervous to host things at my house, and it'd be so uncomfortable and like, oh, I hope everything goes perfectly because I want these people to like me. But then after leaving the cheer squad, I was like, I'm going to do what makes me happy and what's fun for me, and then invite other people along. And what's cool is it's like it gets them out of their comfort zone. They're doing something unique. They get to we not only get to sweat together and work together and push our limits together, but then we also get to raise money for something together. And we're working toward this shared goal. So that was kind of my first dabble or entry point, if you will, into community building. And then in college, I had, lived in different parts of the world, in Africa and Latin America, and stayed with host families, and really fell in love at that time with learning other people's stories. And the more we learn about other people, the more we learn about ourselves, the more able we are to find common ground. And yeah, I learned so much from my host family in Namibia, still send them messages from time to time, and all the people I met along the way. And that really led me to and inspired me to start at Harvard this organization called Harvard Speaks, where each month we would have different Harvard students share a personal story. We'd pair them with a peer speaking coach and to go over their speech with them. And it would be this way for them to share a story, and then that to, spark conversation with other Harvard students and have everybody learn these like really unique things about each other. Flash forward to right before I started my experience company, More of That with Eric Dibvig. I went to the Moth storytelling potluck, or sorry, blah, 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 blah. I'm doing the potluck. Let's rewind that, guys. The Moth storytelling. The Moth storytelling is an NPR podcast, and they send out what a prompt will be ahead of their live tapings or experiences. Then they'll pull people's names randomly, and people will have 5 minutes to share a story around that prompt. And I just loved it because it reminded me of my Harvard Speaks days. And that was when I first got to LA that I went to a Moth storytelling in like 2017 or so. And that was also a few years after I got my yoga teacher training. So I already loved kind of the art of like gathering people through yoga and meditation. But going to the Moth kind of brought back that feeling from my days traveling in college. It brought back that feeling from my days traveling and learning, just like stories of people super different than me and finding like these common, characteristics or elements in all of our stories, no matter what different part of life we were walking at that time. And so I hosted when I got to LA, like I didn't have that many friends. I had friends from previous, years and things, but everyone was spread out. And as some of you who live in LA know, it can be a lonely place when you're not sure where to begin to build community. And even if you have a few friends spread out, it can still feel lonely till you find that community and you click it in. So this is really like the crux of what is now like some of the basis or my fundamental things that I believe about building experiences. And I hosted my first storytelling potluck after the Moth, like in 2017. I was like, okay, if I want community, I should start leading my own experiences, like, versus just kind of waiting for this community to happen upon me. So I invited a few friends that I knew, and I always asked them to bring a plus one that didn't know the group. So that way we were always creating this melting pot of like people that our friends already like enjoyed, and then bringing them into our fold. And I would send out a prompt like 2 weeks or a week ahead of the dinner, and I'd make it a potluck. So it was just easy. But the prompt would be like the best breakup I ever had, or my Achilles heel. And I would start the dinner by having just a rapid fire icebreaker question, like, what's the most LA thing you've done recently, in a few sentences, just to kind of get people comfortable using their voice, sharing. Some people had never shared publicly before these kind of dinners. So it was really cool to just kind of open the space and get everyone using their voice right before we go into the storytelling. And then we'd have 5 minutes for each person to tell their story. And what I would do there is I would kind of set the ground rules of like when someone is speaking, please, like, let's all have our phone on airplane mode, save commentary or like talking to someone else until after like everyone's done sharing, so we can kind of keep the sacredness of the container, as we say in Venice with our Venice spiritual talk. And I would set timers for 5 minutes so people didn't go on long monologues and then it felt awkward to interrupt them. And it also helped people get to the crux of their story more. So if you do an event like this, I highly recommend that. Just letting people know ahead of time, like, I'm going to set the timer. When the timer goes off, like, you have 1 minute left, or it's time to wrap it up, or whatever. And then, maybe we would take an intermission after half the room shared, and, do a little main course, dessert swap out, little bathroom break, and then come back and finish it off. And the cool thing with these stories was you really got to know people deeply and quickly, especially the new people entering the group, of like, oh my gosh, that happened to me too, or I didn't realize we were connected in this way. And so it was a really cool moment of kind of seeing like the possibility of the art of experience creation. And so, since then I've led like hundreds of events, whether it's, our Best Morning Ever morning series, which I mentioned, whether it's our workshops, where it's like, people walk away with a tactical action item, but we've also done some connections, some meditation, some masterminding, some journaling. And I've led 8 group coaching programs with, about 6 to 8 women in each group coaching program, where we're setting a container and we're meeting 6 to 8 women every week for 12 weeks, going through an entire arc together. And so that whole thing too is like setting the sacredness of a container, getting everyone really excited and bought in. So everyone's kind of encouraging each other and creating a foundation of trust, so people know that they can share and they can show up fully as themselves, and they'll be totally accepted and free to do so. So as we kind of go think about our, first step, and then I'll kind of walk you through the steps in real time with the rest of my anecdotes of how I host things. The first step is thinking of what kind of event or experience you'd like to be invited to. How do you want to feel in this experience? What kind of people do you want to be meeting in this experience? What kind of permission do you want to have to comfortably talk to other people, for other people to fully see you? And then once you have that in mind, what do you want this experience to feel like? How do you want it to be? Do you want it, maybe it's a camping trip out in nature. Maybe it's just a simple game night with some people. Maybe it's a beach hang day, whatever it might be. Like, how do you want to feel? And what do you want the intention to be there? What feeling do you want to have there? And then reverse engineer that and be like, okay, if this is the type of event I'd want to be invited to, that is the type of event you, my friend, get to create. Or maybe it's calling your name to create it. And so whatever your event you're having the ping for, step one is just to think of like how you want to feel, what your intention is for the event, how you want others to feel when they're leaving the event. And starting with that simple kind of question. And I always do this before an experience to get really clear on the intention. And then I actually send that out to my guests. So I'm like, this is the intention of the event. And I guess this is part of step one. And I'll give an example. This is the intention of the event. If we would love to have you. If this is not your cup of tea, no worries. We won't think anything of it. But you really want to have that buy-in so everyone who comes is a fuck yes and they're not coming out of obligation. And I'll give you guys an example. For Spencer's and my wedding, we had a festival wedding out in the desert. We had it out in the desert. It was gluten-free, vegan, Cali sober. We did an opening ceremonies Friday night with a fun connective game to get everyone connected. And then closing ceremony Sunday. There were other elements, which I'll talk about here. But we said on our wedding website, like, we love you. We know you love us. If this is not your cup of tea, zero worries. We will take zero offense to this. But we want you to be there if you're like fully bought into the intention of leaning in, being in the desert, meeting new people. And of course, some people, it wasn't their cup of tea and they didn't come to our wedding, and that is fine. But everyone who came was so excited to be in this type of wedding with like theme nights and fun connective things that they were so bought in. And that was really powerful. So when you think of your step one, like, pause this recording. How do you want to be feeling when you do it? Who do you want there? And then how can you communicate that intention ahead of time so people feel empowered to decide if they want to come or not? And communicating that intention is so important, because unvocalized intention is an expectation disaster waiting to happen. So vocalize your intention, put it out there. People can't read your mind. And when you are the host, you are the energetic set point for the experience. So if you're clear on your intention, and of course, while surrendering control, but if you are clear on your intention, then it's going to affect everybody else, because they are going to be clear on it. They're going to know like what the vibe is, how to show up, what the expectation is, if you will. Okay, guys. Step two is creating permission for people to connect at the experience. So you can do this in a few ways. At my experiences, like when people walk in, I have someone greeting them, whether it was a More of That event or Powerful Stuff, saying like, at More of That or Powerful Stuff, we're all about making strangers friends. So write your name on your name tag and put under it like, the next country that's on your bucket list. And those are great ways to like start connecting with other people, or asking them about what they wrote on their name tag, or even just that permission of like, we'd love, make strangers friends. So like, go up and meet someone new. I've also made bingos, which you can do on Canva, where it's like you have to find everyone in the bingo. And because you're the host, you probably know a lot more facts about these other people. So it's like, find someone who's run 2 marathons, find someone who speaks 3 languages, find someone who's been to Antarctica, and then it becomes like fun conversation starters. You can also do the step 2 in other ways by getting like connection card, like the My Intent cards, or other like kind of icebreaker cards that you can order on Amazon and lay them out, or give people one as they walk in. When Spencer and I do game nights at our house, we like to bring different couples together, and different people in general. And we'll give everyone one of these connection cards from My Intent. And, it might be like, what is your fondest childhood memory, or who is your role model? And everyone goes around and answers this question. And there's some discussion around each person's before we dive into the games. So you can do these things. Another thing that we do at Powerful Stuff, or more of that, is we put like interactive walls, like wall questions up with like Post-its, and like tape a sheet of paper of like, what do you want your personal legacy to be? Or what is something that you want help with right now? And you can write your phone number, and then people can take that Post-it who can help you. And doing interactive things like that is really cool. Also, at my birthday this year, I had a rock painting station. I got these like flat rocks and like markers that you could color your favorite word for the year with the rock, which made for a cool souvenir. I've also in the past gotten butcher paper and a bunch of crayons so people can color together. And those are really great. Like the rock painting or the butcher paper thing, or making friendship bracelets, are really great stations, especially for like introverts or people maybe who just feel tapped out, like in their social battery, to come, to feel like creative, to feel like they're participating, but not feel like they have to make a ton of conversation. So these are all ways that you can create permission to connect. And the signature way that we do it at More of That and at Powerful Stuff, of course, is at the top of our event. I'll kick off the event. I'll restate the intention for the event, even if I've already said it in the invite before. And then I'll say we're all about making strangers friends. So turn to the person next to you, someone you didn't come with, who you don't know, which is very important, because otherwise people will like choose their fiance or their friend who they came with, and share with them, one win you're celebrating this week. The person with the shortest hair goes first, and I'll let you know when it's time to switch. And giving people these parameters helps them relax into it versus like, should I go or should you go? And how long will we need to be talking for? So like making things super clear so people can relax into the outline while still leaving space for spontaneity is super important. So as you think about step 2, ask yourself, what permission do I want to give people to connect? Ooh, another one I thought of right now is how when Spencer and I had our wedding, we gave everyone, when they checked in for the wedding, a card with someone else's name on it from the wedding. And we said, it's your secret mission to find this person this weekend and to connect with them. So you can give them this card sharing like a reflection about something you like about them or a conversation that you had by Sunday. But you can't let them know it's you, meaning like you have to connect with a lot of people so it's not super obvious that you have them, and vice versa. And people loved that because instantly it set the tone of let's connect. So yeah, pause this recording and ask yourself, what do you want step 2 to look like or in terms of step 2 is granting permission to connect. So what does that permission slip feel like for you? And maybe it's super simple. Maybe it's just like having people do a quick round robin of an icebreaker. Maybe it's doing one of these craft stations. But what is that permission to connect that you're going to bake into your experience? And then step 3, I would say, is like having either, I don't want to even say like a peak experience, because you guys can also just hang out with friends. And this isn't to go for every single like, hang that you have, but just more so like the formal gatherings or the like gatherings that you want to make special. But I would say step 3 is like, what is something that people are co-creating together during the experience? In addition to the permission to connect, it's really special when you get people creating together. And this could be as simple as a game night when people are like putting their heads together in a team. At our wedding, we gave people different crystals, kind of like at the experience I described earlier in this episode. And people had to find the person or the group with the matching crystals at our wedding. And they had to make a visual representation of our wedding hashtag mermaid spenergy. Mermaid because of Meredith is my name and I live by the beach, and spenergy like Spencer energy. So they all not only had to do the fun part of like finding each other. Oh my gosh, do you have this crystal? Do you have this crystal? Are you amethyst? Are you rose quartz? So LA, I know, guys. And then they had 10 minutes to co-create something together. So everyone's throwing in ideas. They're being spontaneous. They're being funny. They're using their voice. And then they had 2 people go up to the stage and present their hashtag to us. And we had the winners got shuttle patches that my mom took to space with her, because some of you might know my mom's an astronaut. So that was especially fun because it was during our space cowboy themed night. So the prize, everything felt super aligned. And my mom judged it with us, and it was just really fun. And so I would say like step 3 is like thinking of that peak thing that you want people to be creating together during your experience, or what is the peak thing. And when I say peak, it doesn't have to be like a super big adrenaline hit. Like I said, it could be like the game night, or it could be like, in the case of the storytelling potluck, the stories that everyone are sharing together. It could be just refreshing, rehydrating with some electrolytes. But yeah, it could be like in my workshops, it's like I'll lead a meditation around a certain theme, and then everyone will make a visualization of their ideal scene of what they want their life to look like in 6 months, and then reverse engineer that, and then workshop it and mastermind it in small groups. So that's like the crux of those experiences. I host also Powerful Stuff Live, which used to be called acoustic storytelling, which was kind of like my storytelling nights, where I'd get a few musicians to play songs, and in between the songs, I'd get the audience interaction by people saying like what that reminded them of in their own life. And they got to share a story after the song inspired by that. So there was this really cool audience musician connection. So when you think of step 3, it's like, what is that kind of peak thing that you want people to experience together, and what can that unifying central moment be? And when you're having an event, like let's say you're just having like people, like a house party from 7 to 10, or a birthday party, but you want people to feel connected, I think it's really important to say like, get here by 8, like come anytime between 7 and 8, and it's okay if you have to leave early. But if everyone who's coming could be here for 8 p.m., like we're all going to have a moment together. You can take a few breaths together, or if it's your birthday, I know, a few breaths together, that's so LA, but we do it all the time and we love it. And it truly does get everyone on the same page. Or if it's like a birthday, it's like maybe at that point you sing happy birthday and a few people popcorn share about, their reflections or what they love about the birthday person. Or if it's like a networking thing, it's like maybe that's the point where you give the speech and tell the people to turn to someone they don't know yet and share a prompt. But if you're having like an experience that is like 7 to 10, having like that one connective moment in the middle, even if it's simple and small, is really nice. Or like even if you're having a beach hang day, like we're all just going to do this like fun little thing for 10 minutes, and it syncs everyone up and it gets everyone on the same page. And then definitely, if it is like a longer event, like come and go like that, I would say A, have that peak moment, and B, have a few of those like kind of craft stations that people can like tinker in and play with depending on what the vibe is. If there's like dancing somewhere, like having that kind of cozy, cuddly corner is like really nice for people whose social batteries might not be as high. And then of course, having that permission and setting that intention ahead of time and at the event of like, meet someone you don't know, or if it's my birthday and all my different worlds are colliding, like, I would love for you guys to meet someone from a different part of my world and like learn their story so you guys can, understand more parts of me by like learning more about each other. Gosh. So that's step 3, guys. So think about what you want your peak experience to be. How do you want people to feel? How does it tie into the intention? And then just 2 more steps for you guys. And we're going to do such a quick meditation after to really seal this in. And it's like a quick meditation, like that you can do 2 minutes for 2 minutes before you host an experience. But step 4, I would say, is kind of having like a closing moment. And that's really nice. Like, for example, when I host camping trips, we'll have an opening ceremonies where everyone states their intention for the weekend, or a bachelorette, where there's a lot of energies, or a friend weekend. I always do kind of an opening moment of like, what is everyone's intention? What do you make sure you want to get out of it, so that we can know and we can honor that. And that way it gives people permission throughout a longer weekend or experience to like do what's best for them. And then I like to have that closing moment. At our wedding, we had a closing ceremony Sunday where we once again kind of just had a brief meditation, literally a 5-minute meditation, and then had people turn to someone that they, who was standing next to them and share like what their highlight was from our wedding weekend, and what's a way they would be embodying or keeping the mermaid's energy alive after that weekend. At my friend's festival mycelium, I've led the closing ceremony a few years in a row, and it's always like having people reflect on, what their highlight was, what their challenge was from that weekend, and then how they're carrying it forth. What shifted for them in the weekend, and when they return to the quote unquote the real world, like how can they integrate that? And that's what I did at a camping trip too, with like the 6 friends in Ojai. We each went around at the end and shared like what was our favorite thing from the weekend, and how would we be like taking the magic from the weekend into the rest of our life, or even just our week. And like little moments like that really help ground and integrate experiences, and I just love them. Okay, guys, I lied. There's 2 more steps and then a few quick, powerful tidbits. But step 5, I would say, is following up with people after an experience. It's so important, and it really like makes people feel seen, because we all are humans and we all have social anxiety. And sometimes, I'm sure you've been there, where you go to an event and you're like, oh my gosh, did I say the right thing? Like, did they even notice I was there? And so when I'm finished with an event, I always love sending people voice notes who came, who showed up for me, and let them know how much that meant to me. It meant so much you were there. I loved our conversation about X, or your energy really like elevated the experience, and making people feel special and seen for that. I try to do that the next day, like the day after, and not longer. I don't wait longer than that to send people that, and let them know that they feel that I see them, if that's a personal event. If it's a powerful stuff or more of that event for the community, we send a follow-up email. Thank you so much for joining us. Here's how you can stay in touch. Let us know if you have any feedback. And then we continue to iterate on and improve the event. With my upgrade group coaching that I mentioned, like at the end of those experiences, I'll typically try to have like a meetup day in Los Angeles, where we do a beach meditation or a hike, and everyone can kind of chat how it's been a few weeks out of the program and what that's like. So step 4 is just like making note of your follow-up after your experience, and letting people, maybe this is step 5, making people feel seen. And then, or yeah, maybe it is step 5. And then step 6, I would just say, is acknowledging yourself for the experience that you put out, and how do you feel during it, and like what were your highs and what were your lows, and like seeing and acknowledging yourself for all that went well. And I would start with that after the experience, once you're reflecting on it. And especially as an experience creator, I reflect on my experiences always, and like how can I continue to improve them? How can everyone continue to feel more seen? So it's like, how can you continue to improve that experience, is a great question, but don't do it before you acknowledge yourself that you even had the event in the first place. Start with acknowledgement. Start with like seeing yourself for all that went right, celebrating all the people who came, which is why I love sending out those gratitude texts. And then you might be like, okay, what worked really well? What could we do better next time? But starting with the acknowledgement and then having that reflection. Okay, so there you have it, guys. We'll run through the steps quickly, and then I just have a few other things to say. I know I keep telling you guys about what I'm going to tell you. It's like, are we all at the edge of our seats or what? Okay, but step 1, setting the intention for the experience. What kind of an experience would you like to be invited to? What kind of permission would make you feel at ease to relax into the experience? And setting that for the experience, and then sending that out, setting the vibe, setting the tone for that. Step 2 is creating that initial permission slip for people when they arrive, so they feel comfortable to talk to others. We all know how it feels when you walk into somebody's house, party, or whatever, and you don't know anyone, and you're like, oh my God, who do I talk to? And I feel so awkward. So creating that permission slip for people so they feel comfortable. Step 3 is having that peak kind of co-creative experience, where you're literally creating a new experience with others, which is how we build trust with others, and how we build connection with others is co-creating experiences. So what is that peak experience? Step 4 is kind of closing or ending the experience. So it's not like, a jarring party where it's like the music stops and you're like, get out, but it's like that soft landing of like, thank you for coming. What is your takeaway? Or like, let's keep in touch. And then step 5, texting people after, letting them know that they, really were impactful to have there, that their presence was felt. And then step 6 is acknowledging yourself, celebrating all the things that went well, maybe making note of some things that you would want to do differently. And a few other things that I'll say really quickly are that, like I said before, and I cannot emphasize enough, and I felt this so deeply at my wedding, Like, yeah, as the host, you're also the guest of honor. And what I mean by that is that if you're hosting an experience, you should be having the most fun doing it. Like, otherwise, why are you doing it? Whether it's your wedding, whether it's, your bachelorette, your birthday party, everyone is coming there because they love you. So you don't need to worry about, oh my God, is this person having fun? Is this person having fun? If you're having fun, it's going to make them feel good because they came there to help you have fun. So otherwise, if you're worrying about them having fun, then it's this like loop of you chasing each other's tails of fun versus like, I'm going to set the energy. I am the energetic set point. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to do what I want at my experience because I worked hard to create the experience. And now I can surrender control. So it's like set the vibration, release expectation. As I've said in past podcasts, set the vibration, release expectation. How do I want others to feel? How do I optimize the environment? How can I do everything I can before the actual experience? And then when I'm there, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to like laugh and chat with people. If like a little thing here or there needs to get done, fine. But once I set the container, I'm going to have fun because if I'm having fun, other people are going to be having fun. And it's something that I like thought deeply about at my wedding. And I did lean into, and even now looking back, I'm like, I could have leaned in even more to that. And then also I would say focus on who is there and not who is not there. Sometimes I found myself in early event hosting days. Oh, this friend said they were going to come and they didn't. And it distracted attention away from all the people who did show up and who were there and who were adding to the energy. So when you're hosting an experience, think of like everyone who is and not those who are not. And that is so important and something I think about every time before I go into an experience. Whoever is meant to be there is meant to be there. And maybe you had dreams of hosting a 20-person thing and 5 people show up. Treat it as like it was meant to be, that we were supposed to have this intimate 5-person experience. And I don't know why yet, but I'm going to double down. And each person who was here took their time out of their day to be here. And I'm going to honor that and relish that. So those are 2 really big things. Making sure you do what you have to do to have fun. And that's definitely comes with your own kind of like self-care hygiene before the experience, setting your own intention, releasing whatever anxiety needs to be released, calming your own nervous system before, so that way you can feel relaxed. And we're going to do a quick visioning now to step into that. And it's just going to be a few minutes. So you can always come back to the end of this episode and do it again when you need it. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and find a comfortable seat, taking a deep breath in, exhaling it out. Another breath in, and exhale, release. And then just starting to think of the experience that you're ready to host. Starting to feel into your heart space of the intention for this experience. And as you breathe this intention from your heart space, breathing it up to the crown of your head, breathing it down to your toes and out your fingers so your whole body is emanating this energy. And now with this energetic set point, with this intention for this evening or this experience, feeling yourself going into the experience, visioning it in your mind's eye, and seeing yourself maintain this energy regardless of who's there, of what happens, and feeling how you holding this energy shifts the whole experience. Feeling yourself relax deeply into it, trusting in the perfection of its unfolding as you maintain this energy. And you feel yourself feeling recharged, inspired, excited by how this experience is unfolding. And as you feel yourself recharged, feeling that emanate to others in the experience with you, feeling that lead to more openness in them, leading to even deeper connection with you and them, creating this beautiful upward spiral. And then as you look at yourself in this scene, just noticing the energy of that version of you. And just asking that version of you, what's one thing I can completely release, can surrender control of ahead of the experience? Trusting whatever they say, and then just imagine taking a deep breath in And exhale, releasing this thing, whatever you're surrendering, feeling it just simply wash away. And then taking one more question from them, asking them, what is the perfect next step? What is a piece of wisdom to come back to as I step into this experience? Once again, trusting what they say and feeling this wisdom enter into your body, breathing it in, and then once again, sending it out, a deep knowing through every cell of your being. Taking another breath in and exhale, opening your eyes, coming back into this space. And then as you open your eyes, just noticing how you feel, holding on to that energy, that deep trust that your experience is going to be exactly what you need it to be. And reminding yourself that whatever experience or hope that we're craving from others, whether we want a community that invites us camping or people that invite us to go running, it's like being the catalyst ourselves to do those things with other people. And this was such a high level, really quick explanation of my experiences. And I can go even deeper into like individual experiences and what I've learned from those, the bachelorettes, the weddings, the different powerful stuff experiences. So please write me at themeredithbaker.com if you have specific questions about this or you want me to deep dive into one of these things specifically. And also please write me or tag us at That's Powerful Stuff to let me know what experiences you're excited to lead or committed to leading. And I'd love to see you all at some of our powerful stuff experiences like Best Morning Ever. Or if you're in SF this week, I'm leading one August 1st called Be the Catalyst, which I'm super stoked for. And most importantly, like keep sharing this powerful stuff with others. Don't keep it to yourself. If you have a friend who you know who just moved to a new city who's wanting to host experiences or who keeps talking about hosting experiences and they haven't done it, send them this episode as a little wink from the universe to keep going, to tap into their power, to keep spreading that powerful stuff. Okay, guys, I'm so excited to see what you create, to hear what you create, to hear about all the amazing connections that happen at your experience. Consider this episode your sign to do the thing and to invite other people along with you. And that is truly the most powerful stuff. And I will see you next week for more powerful stuff.